Welcome everyone to the FitFam Podcast.
What if the person that you think you are is holding you back from the person that you could be?
Whoa. Let's do a deep dive into that. And we have one of the world's leading
The
experts,
best. The best. Yeah.
Dr. Ben Hardy. And welcome everyone to episode 101. This is a huge milestone for us. And, if you love transforming your body, your mind, and spirit alongside with your family, then join us. Hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you can be notified. And today is a treat. It's an honor for us because we're talking about our friend, a client that we work with and mentor to us, and in my opinion, the greatest organizational psychologist alive, Dr. Ben Hardy.
Oh, for sure. By the way, this is Doug the Formulator.
Oh, and this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary. Sorry about that.
And we are on with the great and amazing Dr. Ben Hardy. And this is just what I want to start off saying because when I'm in Dr. Hardy's presence, I find this weird place where I just want to ask all the questions, or this other side of me that just wants to sit and listen. Like I just want him to talk and I don't want to interrupt. So I always feel like I'm trying to find the balance of just hearing him out because nobody gets my brain cooperating like Dr. Hardy. So I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So let's give a little bit of background.
Okay,
Lead
yeah.
into it.
So my favorite books come from Dr. Hardy, of course. Who Not How, which I just honestly was so transformative for me in my professional bodybuilding career. Like bar none. Um, 10x is easier than 2x, right?
Absolutely.
That was years of
Transforming
research.
for the business.
Yeah.
So it's so cool is there's so many books and things that Dr. Hardy's done that's transformative personal life
Yeah.
and then also in the business life.
Yeah,
And so it's so
and then
fun.
also I just wanna jump into too for, like, our kids as well, which is crazy, like, Braven loves The Gap and the Gain, and so I feel like the fact that you've written, or authored and co-authored all of these different books, and somehow each one has played such a big role in my life or Doug's life or in our kids' life. I think that's pretty remarkable that you could hit so many different personalities, genders, ages. It's just awesome.
Yeah. And because of that, we had to like today with a limited amount of time, with all that stuff, kind of narrow it down to a specific question for Ben. And so today we heard a great podcast that he did with another great client and friend of ours, Myron Golden. And one of the things they talked about was Liedentity versus my identity versus true identity. And so, if you don't mind, Dr. Hardy, and welcome, by the way, to the show, would love for you to kind of chat on that and tell us a little bit about your thoughts of, first of all, just overall of things. It's great to see you. And then kicking it off with maybe the identity portion of that.
Absolutely. And I just want to first off say, I love you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are some of the most important people. I will say this in my life. Doug is not only a health advisor, but a spiritual advisor, someone who I can reach out to in high stakes moments, as well as just keeping my floor extremely high. And so I just want to say thank you both. You guys are very important people in my life. You guys came at the right time, and anyone who works with you guys is lucky to work with you. I genuinely consider uh, you guys some of my most important advisors in life, and so I just want to say you're the real deal. I will promote your work, forever. And so thank you guys for having me on the show, and I just really cherish you guys. Like seriously, you guys are the real deal. In terms of my conversation with Myron and the lie identity versus the my identity versus the true identity, I really look at identity a little different from everyone else. I look at identity. I always, as a psychologist, I connect identity with time, um, and I've spent a lot of time talking about the psychology of time. But importantly, most people's identity is rooted in their past. And even when we talk about scaling, most people use the past as the basis for their goals, right? So you see this in companies where they've done 4 or 5 million in revenue. Say they've done 5 million in revenue. right, last year. They'll use that as the basis for their goals, right? So they'll say, okay, we did 5 million last year. Let's go for 6 or 7 million this year, right? And you never want to use your
Right.
past as the basis for your future. But that's what we tend to do. That's the natural course. And so my view is that our past is really important, but that we are not our past self. Now, often people will have an unhealthy relationship with their past self, where they're mad at their past self, where or they regret certain things, or and so there's no reason to be mad at your past self for anything. Only just recognize that you are not your past self. And then
Mm.
ideally, when you get to a very healthy psychology, you love and cherish your past self, but you recognize that you're not them, nor would you do the same things as them. And so how I look at it is when you raise your floor as a person, that means you're no longer doing what your past self did. I define the floor as a person is who you really are. And specifically, the floor is what you no longer do. And so anytime you raise your floor as a person, you now don't do things your past self did. And so I view true identity at the highest level as child of God, infinite potential, infinite worth, um, and that we have agency over how we look at our past self, present self, and future self. And the future self, when it comes to psychology, is actually the most important of those three. The future self is more important than the present self. Who you are in the present is a blip in the radar. Who you are in the present is just um, uh, it's just a moment in time. But the driver of your present self is your view of your future self, far more than your
Mm.
past. And Viktor Frankl talked about this in Man's Search for Meaning. He didn't use these terms. Instead, what he said is that, him speaking from the concentration camps, he said that essentially you can't have meaning or purpose, especially in difficult circumstances, without a goal. Your goal is what gives your life meaning and purpose. Your goal is what gives your present meaning. Your goal is what gives your present context. And so, my view is that the true identity is obviously rooted in your relationship with God, but that your future self is a far more core aspect of who you are than even your present self, and certainly than your past. I don't know if you
Wow,
want to
that's
go into that,
powerful.
Doug. I don't know if you want to go into that. One of the things you've taught me, Doug, by the way, just going into your work with mine, is you talk about identity a lot and help me connect with my future self, right? And then we always want the future self to be the basis of who we're being in the present. And so you help me all the time give my future self a title, and then use that as the trigger whenever I'm tempted to revert back to my former
Mm.
self.
Yeah, that health identity trait. And I'm really glad you brought that up because it's been one of the most powerful things that me and Hillary have come to. And it came from kind of working in the professional sports arena and working with Hillary of her, her climb to become Miss Olympia and the times when she needed to be, no, I'm Miss Olympia. What would Miss Olympia do? And it way before it ever happened, when she placed last, it was like really
Thanks
she,
for that.
she hates it when I bring that up. But anyways, I think it was a powerful moment in time. And anyways, I think that I really love you bringing that up because it is something that I know when I get in a funk, I've got to think about that future self. And the part of what Dr. Ben just said today that actually every time we speak,
I
I
know.
hate to even call him a client because I love getting on the calls with them with his help, and I come out of there with all these great new things for me. But
No, see me over here jotting as fast as I could as he's like
but
talking.
the thing that was so cool about, Ben, what you just mentioned, as far as something new that hit me, was the power of that we wouldn't do the things today that we would before if we made mistakes or learns or had things, that we did in our younger years. And to live with that guilt or that, man, I wish I'd done different, or should I have done different, maybe not even knowing, is so powerful. I hadn't really hit me at that level before.
Yeah, I think what I loved most about what you said about your past self is loving and cherishing them.
Mm,
I I think it's so easy to maybe look at your past and like you had said, like there's something that you just feel so guilty for, or something you wish you could change, or and I like the concept of having such love for that person and recognizing maybe that that person did the best they could. But I also am no longer that person. I am progressing.
Yeah.
So I it's
It,
so good.
if people only got that, I mean, wouldn't that fix a lot of the concerns and issues today that people go to counselors for and everything else, as far as if they could just make that leap?
100%. It's interesting because with psychology, you cannot separate identity from time, right? Um, Obviously, time it operates differently in psychology. We actually carry our past and our future around with us all the time. It's actually how we view our past and our future that forms who we are in the present, right? Although the future weighs way more, as we've already been discussing. The
Mm,
future is an infinitely bigger tool psychologically than the past, but the past is still incredibly important. But everything we've been saying is really key, which is there's no value in being critical of your past self. Although we tend to fall to that, or so you don't want to be critical of your past self. You want to give them empathy and compassion, um, but also to distinguish your current self from your past self. And that's when reframing becomes really powerful. That's when the past becomes a powerful tool. But you never want to operate from the identity of your past self. You never want the past to be the driver. Actually, you want the future to be the driver. And you want the future to guide and shape the present, not the past. Um, and so I think these are really key things. Usually with a fixed mindset, what happens is people over identify with their past self, and then they let their past be the driver, whereas the growth mindset identifies with the future self. It doesn't over identify with the present self. So when you have a growth mindset, what's beautiful about it is that you can change, and so you don't need to be right in the present. People with a fixed mindset need to be right
ooh,
in the present. They need
oh.
and so they avoid failure. They avoid being wrong. They avoid, so they have high ego. And so when you have a growth mindset, you're completely fine being imperfect in the present. You're completely fine exposing your weaknesses in the present. You're completely fine getting feedback in the present because you know that your future self will be different. And
That's crazy.
yeah, and so one of the core components of psychology here is approach versus avoid. Every action or behavior is approach versus avoid. And when you're on a fixed mindset, you're avoiding feedback, you're avoiding exposure, you're avoiding being wrong, you're avoiding failure. And so you're trying to overly protect your identity. Whereas with a growth mindset, you know that you can transform. You know that, and by the way, the future is simply a tool to guide the present, right? I'm not putting the future self
Mhm.
outside of me. I'm not putting the future self far away. I'm saying my future self is simply the guide for who I am in the present. And that because it's the guide for me in the present, I'm now being shaped by my future. And that because of that, me in the present doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the more I expose myself in the present and just admit I need help, seek advice, and be vulnerable, and the faster I become my future self, the faster I let go of the things holding me back. But to the whole idea of true identity, there is this higher sense of nature above all of this that is the child of God, um, that is someone who it's has complete ability to grow and to change and to make choices, and that we have these incredible tools, including our past and future, which allow us to learn and grow and transform.
That's phenomenal. So would you say, from a simplified version, that the Liedentity mode is allowing your past self to dictate who you think you must be today or who you are today? Is that a simple way to say it, or is there a better way to say that?
I would say that, I'll be honest with you. The Lidentity, my identity was a Myron conversation, not a me conversation. That was a
Yeah.
concept. There was a concept he brought up, which I don't. That's more of a Myron thing, to be honest with you. But how I personally look at it is, I think the lie identity, as I look at it, is going below the floor. Like how
Oh,
I
okay.
look at it, going below the floor means that you're operating from the past, and you're defaulting to who you were before.
Mm.
And even when and it's consciously going against what the future is that you want, right? So anytime I go
Oh,
below the
that's so
floor,
big.
yeah, yeah,
That's so
yeah.
big.
Tell me why real quick, Hillary. What stands out?
Just be I just feel like when we're being oh, sorry, when we're being called to our future self, it can be so scary, right? And so it's so easy to go back to who we are because it's so comfortable or who we have been in the past. And sometimes it's easier to stay in comfort until that comfort gets so like mundane that we're willing to step out of it. I just feel like it's just such an easy thing to do when it's like there's a part of us that knows we're capable of so much, of so much that can be a little intimidating sometimes. It's like, "Ooh, am I ready to be that person? Am I ready to?" So I just feel like that's so good.
Yeah, and I have one comment on that that I really like to share and get your thought on is I want to go back a few months. We're in Cancun, Mexico, right? We're with Dr. Ben Hardy, Myron Golden, Russell Brunson, and a room full of people I was just starting to learn that were, these close to billion-dollar company people and stuff. And we're in this room, and you have Dr. Hardy that's just got everyone mesmerized from stage. And we're talking, and here's all the books he wrote, right? And yet he told me and Russell and Myron that we need to read a book he didn't write.
Yeah.
It was mind-blowing to me that he was like, "No, I want you to go read, You're Not What You Think." Is that the right words for it?
I don't know.
It's not.
Was it the book by Joseph that
Yeah, yeah.
don't
Don't
believe everything
believe
you think?
everything you
Don't
think.
don't believe everything. And so we immediately, right, Myron downloaded it that night and, listened to it. We got read,
I was on the
everything.
treadmill the next morning
But it was, one, the
audiobook.
humility and the, like, "Here's what I think you need," and it wasn't even his book, but in that book, leading to what you just said, was something really powerful to me, and it was talking, about that we many times will stay in this place that we have and the habits, even though we know they're bad,
Yeah.
because we'd rather be in something that we know. We'd rather be doing the things that we know the consequences, even if they're bad, than step into something new that the consequences could be better.
I think that's it. Yeah.
And it was so, I know it was worded better and you're going to be able to speak it better, but it was so powerful to me because of working with clients in even just the fitness area of life. How many of them know that their daily habits is leading to pain and not being able to be present and have as much energy and vitality, but they still choose that versus breaking out and doing something new. Man, can you kind of speak to that? Because that was so powerful based on what you just said and the book you recommended.
Yeah, it reminds me of, and I don't have the quote perfect off the top of my head, but there's a quote from Ellen Langer, and Ellen Langer was a Harvard psychologist. She wrote a book called Mindfulness. She also wrote a book called Counterclockwise, which I actually think you two would really like. It's all about how your mind impacts your biology and about how you can reverse age. To be honest with you, and she wrote it like in the 70s. Very breakthrough research called
Oh, cool.
Counterclockwise. But one of the things that Ellen Langer talked about is that people obviously prefer certainty over uncertainty, even if the certainty is worse. Like if they know, so to that point of like
Yeah.
staying with what they know, they would rather have a bad certainty than a better uncertainty, because uncertainty just brings with it so much psychological difficulty. And so this is why people stay in bad situations, is because at least it's certain, right? Whereas, taking risk, and the thing about all behavior, and even Ellen Langer said this, she says with true choice, there's always uncertainty, right? Whereas without choice, there's uncertainty. There's sorry, she said with all choice, there's uncertainty. But she says if you remove choice, then you have certainty, right? And so um,
Mhm.
people prefer to eliminate choice so that they can eliminate uncertainty, which is very interesting. Um, and when you start to operate from the future, there is uncertainty. And when you operate even with courage, there's no guarantee, right? People want the guarantee. I remember talking with Dan, who I wrote 3 books with, Dan Sullivan, and he says that people obviously prefer confidence over commitment, right? Um, they prefer confidence over courage as well. And so, but the problem with confidence is that confidence actually is based on the past. You can't have confidence.
Mm.
Confidence is something you earn. Courage and commitment are based on what you do with your future. And
Mm.
so people prefer
Wow.
to just have, but people will not do certain things unless they believe it's assured. They won't make that important move. They won't make that better future self choice because it's not assured. Yeah, and so this all really holds people back. But yeah, that's all, again, with the Joseph Newen book on Don't Believe Everything You Think, he's got some beautiful insights. But yeah, I would just say that what's really powerful is just knowing that as people, it really is our future that shapes our present. Like everything you see in the present, everything you do, and getting more and more aligned with your core future self. And then just owning that in the present is how you can really tap in. And then obviously, if you involve God in that equation, pray, seek God's help, then you can absolutely continuously elevate your identity in the present, and you can make massive jumps, fast jumps. It doesn't have to be linear growth. It can be, because this is why we teach 10x is easier than 2x, right? Or going for impossible goals is because you elevate the future to such an extreme level, but you use that future to guide the present now. And when you elevate the future that high and use that future as the guide for today, then a lot of what you are doing right now ceases to be relevant. It forces you to go find a more aligned path. And so then the courage is letting go of what you're doing now that doesn't align with that path. And that's when you can start to really tap into a much higher identity. And you can also let go of the identity that served you in the past.
Wow, that's powerful.
Just mic drop.
Yeah, mic drop.
Right there.
So, there's so much I'd want to go in depth there, but I respect
No,
your time
no.
right now.
What stands out to you, Doug? It's important. What stands out? What do you want to go
Oh,
into for a minute? Come on, don't hold back, Doug.
yeah, oh yes.
Share your thoughts. I
Question.
know
I'm
people.
gonna lay out it. Okay, here, being in the industry and understand in the health field, but also as it relates to everything in life, with business and family and that, I have I have found that some people love the uncertainty. I know I'm kind of that way. I absolutely we're gonna jump and let's go and kind of figure it out. And I love the feeling of the uncertainty. And I notice people, I don't know how much you love it, but I've seen you in the last year make some decisions of like, holy cow, I don't know anyone in my life that made decisions like you did of the uncertainty possibility when the comfort was I like that comfort. Like that's my goal to get to that comfort. And yet you just completely upended everything because of the future self. And we see that with our friends, right? We see that with Russell, the way he lives. It's like one time I remember with him, and he's like, something's wrong because there's not enough chaos. Like, it's like, he was like, it's going too good. I've got to create something. And so my question is this: do you think that that's just habit formed to be able to get yourself to be your future self more or some people more wired that way than others?
An awesome question. I think whether people are more wired for it or not, it certainly must be learned. The ability to deal with uncertainty, because I believe that one of the reasons you enjoy it or that you are willing to go through it is because you believe in choice, responsibility, and transformation. And so you're willing to deal with uncertainty because those core things are things that you truly believe in. And I know that that's true of you, Doug. And I know that's true of you, Hilary, is you believe in choice, you believe in transformation, you believe in responsibility. And so oddly, what's connected to all of those things, when you take them as completely seriously as you can, is uncertainty. Because now
Wow.
you're choosing a higher form of responsibility above what you have done in the past. And with that comes uncertainty until you grow into it and until you normalize it, right? And, and it reminds me of the whole idea of just operating with higher levels of organization, right? Taking seemingly higher levels of what seems like complexity or chaos, and then learning how to organize it, right? And so that's what happens when you start living higher and higher principles. Is in the beginning it's like going from college to pros, right? Uh, when you go from college to pros, it feels chaotic. It feels complex. The game's moving a lot faster. You don't understand a lot of stuff. But if you own responsibility at that level, eventually you can start to organize it and start to take what seems like chaos or uncertainty, and you can develop mastery over it. And so I think that you're just someone who believes in agency, responsibility, and mastery, and you want to see how high you can take that. And it's scary to take on higher levels of responsibility and higher levels of stewardship and higher levels of agency, where now you're, rather than just taking care of yourself, now you're taking care of a family, right? Or now you're taking care of, you're taking on a lot of responsibility for yourself, Doug, and both of you want to help not just yourself and your family, you want to help hundreds of high achievers or thousands improve their agency and improve their spirituality so that they can then make a bigger impact in the world. So you're taking on higher degrees of responsibility and desire to help increasing ripples out in the world, and stepping into that involves all sorts of learning and uncertainty, which is awesome because you're going to master it.
Wow, that's powerful. And when we look at, if I do self-reflection and think about us as a couple, even just to kind of like go there for a second, it's like there's times in my life when I didn't choose that uncertainty at times, and I'm looking back at it and like, okay, that was then, like you said, that I wouldn't make those choices now and went forward. And there's times I did. I'm like, cool, that makes sense. And I'm glad I did that. And I think that's true in everyone's life. Like I can think of Hillary at times as she like uncertainty to marry someone like me and but jumps in full out responsibility, transformation, choice. And so I think in all of our lives, we can look and in the past and see that and be like, you know what? Good move or bad move, or not sure if that was the right move, but that's a past. And then today, I'm going to live for the choices we want to make, taking on that responsibility and the transformation. Like,
Yeah,
what did that hit
those
you?
three, yeah, choice, transformation, and responsibility. Just those three words. It's so funny because he says those three, and I'm like, could you describe Doug any better? Like, I would say he embraces those in every part of your life. You're so big on choice. You're also so big on allowing people to think and do what they want, and you'll think and do how you want, and you're okay either way. So I just think it's brilliant. I think a question that I would ask you, Dr. Hardy, is this is if if one spouse is better at living in their future self, where
Hmm.
another spouse has a tendency to live through their past, how can they best how can the one that's looking to their future help the other one?
Yeah, my view of this, it's interesting. There's a quotation. So before I share the quotation, it's interesting because you can teach things without requiring the other person to change, right? I can sit and teach true principles in psychology without trying to force the learner to change as a result. A lot of people are trying to change other people.
Mm,
So I'll give an example. So I don't need to try to change my wife, nor does she need to try to change me, but I can elevate myself without judgment of her. I can also share what I'm learning without trying to change her.
yeah.
So the quote that I love, which is teach correct principles, but let other people govern themselves. Right. And so it's a powerful place when you can be a teacher or even a person who's living without requiring or even trying to change the other person.
Yeah, I
Loving, caring, supporting. Doing that is a powerful place to be.
Oh, powerful. I love that, and that kind of goes into just how important it is with, like, your 5 people that you spend time with, right? I think that's why that's so powerful, and it's because you once you get around people that are elevating or living towards their future self, you can't help but it's like magnetizing. You wanna feel that. So, anyways, that's just so good. I love it.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
that. That was kind of a deep dive off a direction that is so important because we're kind of talking about the being able to navigate life as a couple and being okay where each person that hurts a lot of like in our marriage. Hillary's strengths are so much greater than mine in certain areas, and we'll have this, where do you go with that? And it's so great. It's like live those principles, don't try to change, but I think you both will come together. And so to kind of like get things
One
rolling
final
here.
thing I just want to note on that is I think that the key to any relationship, which should make sense as we've already been talking, is an alignment of the future.
Mm,
Yes.
And so wherever someone's at in terms of their current capability or their current strengths or weaknesses or differences. Of course, in a marriage, there's radical differences.
Right.
But if there's alignment on the future, that's
Yeah.
usually the best basis of a relationship, more than personality, more than even honestly shared interests. Although shared interests can be powerful, alignment on the future is the most important point of any relationship.
Yeah, I like that a
And I
lot.
just had this epiphany there because let me run it to business real quick. You know, we've been working to, since I've met you, 10x my company. And my company is like this every year we grow, and it's so we're so blessed, we're so excited, but it's a certain amount every year for over a decade, right? And yet none of those years, even though we were blessed to have growth, was a 10x year or anything like that. And it was like, how do we get that? And I really want that, and following the principles of 10x and everything that you teach. But one of the biggest things we've come to lately, and we just came back from a retreat to try to figure out and set new goals in that, was basically this: is our job right now really is to, with the staff, with the 40 50 staff members, create an alignment of the future and be okay with where they're at the moment. Even if they're really starting to learn about health principles or about their job or whatever it is that they're doing. And then if we can create an alignment of everyone saying, yes, we want to help, right, over 2.5 million people this year. That's our goal, is to help them improve their health. If we can get that alignment and talk about that, and the testimonials of people changing their lives, and the clinics that are changing more lives and getting people better faster because of what we teach, that if we do that, all the rest of this will be able to aid in our goal. In other words, what we were missing was everyone being on alignment of the future. And that's just so powerful that you said that. I think that applies to couples, to families, to businesses, to your own health, right? An alignment with your own self and your spiritual self of what the future should look like, with your health. And I don't know if that's what you meant by it, but that's what was my big epiphany right now, is like, whoa, this really, alignment with the future is in every area of life.
Couldn't agree more. And I think in a business, the hardest part for a leader is to know when a team member is either unaligned or uh not that you should get rid of someone just because they don't have the chops, right? If they're aligned and they're really working at it, like what you just said, uh, a great leader can help them elevate. But sometimes just knowing if the people on the team, in a business, it's different from a marriage, right? There's two totally different contexts here. But in a business, there is responsibility of saying, is this person the right person for this company's
Right.
future, not for the past? And that's a difficult
Yeah.
decision to make. It's a difficult conversation to have. Uh, but that's part of leadership in business, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you with that. And I think maybe the clinics that watch the health professionals all around the nation, I think that there's a lot of that they can unpack too
Oh,
with
for
that.
sure.
100%. I mean, we just came back from a big conference with a group, Alex Hermosi and his wife, and they said they hire on culture first. And if they're not aligned with the culture, they have that alignment, they don't even get into their credentials and their history and all that. That's more important than anything else. So thanks for sharing that. Well, hey, let's jump to kind of like closing up here. And
I
that
kind of threw my papers to the side.
yeah,
Just
it was this is so great. It
enjoyed
always
this.
happens. But in September next month, you've graciously, thank you by the way, have are coming back to the super seminar. And I've got doctors every day from around the nation talking about, asking, what's he going to teach? And we're going to hear about the new book. And, I had mentioned to them about being able to, that you'll be talking about strategizing with God along with the science of scaling. Is there anything that you can kind of preface what these health professionals and the patients that come will hear from you on stage?
Sure. Um, so I am in process. So Strategize with God is a book I'm gonna write. I'm gonna write it next year. But the book I'm gonna write this year is very connected. So obviously the science of scaling just came out last week. I actually just found out yesterday it hit the New York Times bestseller list, which was pretty cool.
Whoa.
But yeah,
That's so
kind of
cool.
it was kind of
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's kind of like random. I was like, because honestly, we weren't trying for that.
Kind of cool.
But
Okay, we just made the NBA playoffs, so it's kind of cool. Like,
no, it was interesting. I'll be honest. The book I'm writing right now is called Surprising Strategy. And then obviously Strategize with God will come, but a big part of surprising strategy. So all good strategy is surprising, right? It's surprise. So, um, and you and I, Doug, talked very closely about this, but I had to make a difficult decision last month to not write a book with Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins had read The Science of Scaling, loved it. He's wanting to get into corporate training and wanted to partner with me in his corporate training business. And he really wanted me to help partner with him on some books. And um, I, back to the idea of past self, present self, future self, it was a really hard decision for me to make because it was so resonant with my past self. My past self would have dreamed for an opportunity to write a book with Tony, and I have such respect for him. But operating from my future self and from our own impossible goal and scaling.com and the direction I'm going as a person, that opportunity was a no, which was extremely surprising to most people. Because from most people's perspective on the outside, that's just something you don't say no to, which makes complete sense. And so all good strategy is surprising. Um, but the core basis of true strategy is the spiritual. It's knowing who you are and knowing what you want to do, and maybe even knowing what God wants you to do, irrespective of what great opportunities life presents you that are off that path. And so the most surprising thing you can do is follow the path that God wants you to do. So that's number one, is the spiritual. But two, what comes along with it is that the most surprising thing someone can do is stick with that path and continue to elevate it, right? Life will send you so many vanity opportunities. I call them vanity metrics. And the Tony one, although it would have been special for me in this station of my life, it would have more been optimizing for looking good versus becoming great at what I'm supposed to do right now, right? There's a difference between looking good versus being good. And so one of the surprising things that will happen with good strategy is the default is to eventually opt for some vanity metric, whether that's money, fame, blah, blah, blah. And those things, actually, Stephen Covey calls those secondary greatness. Primary greatness is seeking to truly be great at the thing that you feel is the most important thing for you to do. And in my case right now, with my goals, my company, my future self, it's helping companies scale 10x very quickly. It's helping companies scale quickly with really good psychology and strategy. And the truth is, with the Tony thing, that had I pursued that, it would not have been optimizing for this purpose that I'm trying to become great at. Instead, it would have been optimizing for looking good. And so the most surprising thing that you can do is actually trying to be great at the thing that you really want to become the best in the world at, and the thing that you want to serve the world with, and say no to the many distractions along the way. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about surprising strategy and about how you can actually, and what's interesting about this all, by the way, is that when you actually do start with the spiritual and then stay simple, which means, as Steve Jobs says, innovation and focus are saying no to 1,000 things, then you can get to a point where you can scale. And scaling means that you're getting 10x to 100x the results that you were used to getting.
wow.
It's not about growing too. And so I want people in the audience to have the right strategy, to have good strategy, which is based on spirituality and simplicity. And it's always going to be surprising. It's not going to be what other people expect. And eventually, because it's going to be so disruptive, it will surprise whatever industry you're in. It will transform an industry. But first, it's going to surprise everyone around you, because it's not going to be what people would expect you to do.
That's huge. And I love that, because the theme of our seminar is awakening.
Yeah, that's good.
And we're trying to help everyone back up and get to the spirituality side of it, like who they are. Because for 30 years, we've been training health professionals, their clinics, and working with people just to improve their health. And many times we have to, like, okay, after a period of time, whether it's a clinic or a person, we have to, like, okay, we got to strip everything away and get back to the basics. Who are you? Who are you as a child of God, or whatever it is you
Yep.
believe? And then from there, we take it to that next step. So the idea in September in Vegas is to get people to strip down to their core spirituality, whatever that is for them. And so I love that that's where you're going. I didn't know about surprising strategy. That's so awesome.
So good.
And I think
And
from
it
the
fits very
standpoint,
closely with strategizing with God.
yeah, and I think from the standpoint of people that are looking to come to the super seminar, if you're looking from a clinic, and look what Dr. Ben's done, just committing to his future self of helping businesses, which a clinic, right? Think of a clinic as a business, which it is at the highest level because it's full entrepreneurism. And being able to scale that the right way. So that's one reason that all health professionals should come. But then as an individual, being able to understand the importance of your health from the standpoint of respecting the creator and realizing that without optimal health, you are not going to have the physical ability or the mental clarity to scale or to even, enjoy life. Is just a powerful thing.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And I will say I've heard Dr. Hardy a few times. I've been in a few different rooms with Dr. Hardy, and it doesn't really matter what he's speaking on. The floor is raised every time you speak. It just is because it's so enlightening, the things that you have to say. So I feel like regardless of honestly, regardless of what the topic is going to be, and regardless of, your clinic or you're an individual, you're gonna find value. It's gonna help you raise your floor.
Yeah. And
No doubt.
yeah, I don't,
No doubt.
I know there's gonna be a lot of people show up, but I guarantee these two will be sitting front row no matter who shows up because it's such a life-changing experience to be able to be with you, to see you, to listen to you. And so, I can't thank you enough for coming again to the super seminar when y- I've personally seen you turn down speaking engagements, podcasts within the last 3 months that were, 100x bigger than ours, and
Yeah, how lucky are we?
stages bigger than the ones you're going to be on in Vegas with us, with the health professionals and the public. And again, I can't thank you enough for whatever it was that you've chosen to do this. And so excited about you being there. Any last words based on just kind of what we talked about today that resonates with you from this conversation?
I'll just say alignment. I'm aligned with you guys. And
You're made me cry.
that's the key. Yeah, so it's alignment, right? That's why I would choose to be uh your event versus some other event is alignment. And so whoever comes obviously is gonna be aligned with you guys and what you teach and the philosophy and standard that you hold. And so that is the why. But I will absolutely say that one of the surprising things that happens when people do what you're teaching and get connected to their future self and strategize with God better, it becomes surprising who your future self can become. Uh,
Mm.
as part of this process, this recent process of recognizing that something that would have been a dream of my past self was no longer aligned with my future self. Not, and it has nothing to do with Tony. He's beautiful, incredible. It makes you realize how fast you can scale as an individual. And sometimes you advance so far as an individual that you didn't even realize it. But you do that because you're strategizing with God. You do that because you're operating from your future rather than operating from your past. And and so the actual result is surprising, not only for you but for everyone else. And for those who come, what I'll say is that it's the goal is that not only can you surprise yourself, but that you can surprise the world by what you do, not in the next 10 years, but in the next 1 to 2 or 3,
Mm.
and that you can not only change your game, but you can change the game, and that's what we want to help you do.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, man. As always, it's just a privilege and an honor, and I'm so excited to be able to see you there. Maybe get a few little workouts in, and
We
some
will
great
get
times
workouts.
together.
But I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to your standards soon, man. You keep raising my floor. You keep raising my floor. I'm gonna get there.
It's
I'm gonna
it's
get
the torn biceps.
I'll get to
You're the best. You're
I'll
the
get to
best.
Hillary's standards soon. See,
That's awesome.
there it is. There it is.
Oh, you're the best. You're the best. Well, hey, and that's another reason to come and stay an extra day because Hilary will be competing at the USA's
No pressure.
right there. So
Hillary
that's
is a boss. That's gonna be so fun to be there with you. I love being around Hillary. Hillary is one of the most genuine people I know, and just a pro through and through. So I can't wait to be with you, Hillary.
Oh, I can't wait to be with you. One of the highlights of my career is last year at USA's, Doug pumping me up and me looking down. You're like, "What? What do you need?" And you buckling my shoe. I'm like, "What world is this? That Dr. Ben Hardy is buckling my shoe before I hit the
handing
stage."
you weights.
Oh my gosh, it was the most amazing thing
we,
ever.
we had people come
But
up and say,
it's nothing but an honor. It's nothing but an honor.
Oh,
we had a
What
couple of
were you
those
What were you saying,
bodybuilders.
Doug?
We had a couple of bodybuilders from Texas, to Utah, come up right after that knew who you were, but were almost too scared to come talk to you, as knowing you as Ben Hardy, the author and the speaker. And they're like, did we just see what we think we saw? Like he handed you a weight to pump up and was helping you get ready. Like, who are you to have Dr. Ben Hardy come help with the pump up room? And so that was so cool.
It's Hillary. That's who it is. And
I love
yeah,
it. Lucky.
That was,
I'll clean your shoes. I'll do. I'll sweep in front of you. As you're getting on stage, I'll do whatever. It's Hillary.
You know what? No, you're the most genuine. I want to say this real quick before we finish up. One of the things that I love and respect so much about you, and I've heard you do it to multiple people, when someone has an aha moment or someone tells you something that they liked that you said from stage or something that they liked in your book and they say that to you, you don't say, "Oh, thank you." You say, "Really? Why did it affect you? What did you like
tell me
about it?
more about it.
Tell me more." The fact that it just like blows my mind because it shows how much you care and how invested you are in all of it. You truly want to know what it is that touched them. And I've been with other people where the response is, "Oh, thank you." But you really I've seen it so many times. It blows my mind every time.
Yeah, it was so awesome. So awesome. So we're so excited to have you. In fact, that kind of leads to the thing. Doctors, for those of you that wanted or are wondering how to get more of Dr. Ben Hardy, he's actually agreed when we were in Mexico. Luckily, maybe it was a Mexico Air or something that made him say this. Probably regretting it now, but he said, "Hey, we'll do a separate breakout for your top health professionals for questions and answers because the biggest event or biggest moment in Mexico with all these great speakers from all over the world. And that if you go back to like what people said was the greatest moment, many of them said it was when Dr. Ben Hardy was on stage with questions and answers and went personal with people. And the fact that you said, "Hey, I'll do that with your, top health professionals," phenomenal. So call in and ask how that can happen to be in that room when that happens. It's just, I'm so excited about everything. So we'll let you go. But as always, this
Some of
is
my favorite time is being with you. Last year was a lot of fun. Whoever's listening, if you're not coming, what's going on? Like this is it's being with Doug, it's being with the top, like you guys are at the cutting edge, but also you're just so principled and core at the root. And so, this is the most advanced book. And so if you're not all I would say is come and scale, scale your health, your influence, your impact. Like, yeah, just come and be prepared to transcend everything that you're doing right now in the most powerful way. I mean, but we will do that breakout session, Doug. We'll do it every time. I'm there to serve. If it's a 3-hour breakout session, we'll do it. If it's a workout afterward, we'll do it. We'll just have fun. I'm always just I'm there. I mean, if you need me to sweep the floors, Doug, I'll do it for you guys. I'm there. I'm there to serve. You guys are amazing, and I know that your audience is top of class, and so it's gonna be a special event.
well, yeah.
I can't
Thank
wait
you
to be
so
there.
much. Yeah, we're so excited. I'm ready to go now. Well, we'll let you go. But as always, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hillary.
This is Doug the Formulator.
And again, subscribe, and we're so excited. Make sure you call in and sign up for the super seminar. Can't wait to see you there, our friend. And you take care and keep chewing.
Thanks, Dr.
Love
Hardy.
you guys.
Love you.
Boom.